Bro, apparently Ubisoft is trying to push for, Ubisoft is trying to push for games where you cannot buy them. Apparently, you all have to just subscribe. Dude, why? Imagine having to pay $5 a month to play Minecraft. No, that's stupid. People, come on.
Solar screen cleaner is formulated to be safe around kids and pets.
Character-based services, and it's also not even new to actually own your games. Biggest example is Steam. When you buy a game on Steam, you even agree that if you break the rules with Valve and they shut down your account, you don't get your games back anymore. It dies with the account. So it's not unusual in the space to not actually own your products, but Steam is just a really good service with it that most people have trust in. You know what people have no trust in? Fucking Ubisoft. But going beyond that,
Haven't they been doing
I
so
truly
much
think it is
BS
vital
lately?
to actually own what you pay for, like a physical copy of it. The biggest example I keep giving is SpongeBob SquarePants. If you wanted to watch SpongeBob SquarePants start to finish right now, you could. It's through streaming services, but you're missing the best episode, the Panty Raid, because it got censored and pulled from streaming services along with another.
Are you kidding me?
Well. So if you wanted the complete SpongeBob experience, you
Oh, come on.
through the official channels.
Thought we stood against censorship, dog.
Either have the physical media on the DVD box sets for the seasons, or you pirate it. That's it. I'm going off a little tangent here. I'm taking a dusty little path down a dirt.
Like, for example, there's a few shows on Netflix that I like to watch that are not found anywhere else, okay? And guess what? You're like, you know what? I'm so close to saying I just want the DVDs of those shows, and I just want to just unsubscribe from freaking Netflix in general, okay? I want Stranger Things, and I want my few other shows I watch on Netflix, and I just want them as DVD and out. I don't care. I'm almost turning my back on Netflix. They're so annoying, man. I do not like dealing with them.
But this is something I've talked about a lot recently on stream. When Dunkey released this video on all the streaming platforms that are popping up, which is becoming a huge headache because there are more streaming platforms popping up than there are stars in the night sky, you can't really get a convenient experience anymore because everything is so divided. The best example Dunkey provided was for trying to watch the entire Pokemon series. You have to go to like 15 different streaming platforms back and forth. So like seasons 1 through 5 on one, season 6 on another, then back to that first one for season 7. Then you have to go to like a completely separate one for season 8 and 9, and then to the fifth one for season 10. Like it's just all over the place, broken up like fucking Dragon Balls across the internet. It's becoming extremely expensive, extremely hard to keep track of what you can watch where. You have to be like Charles Xavier and Cerebro on watching a complete series or a complete series of movies because they're all over the place with different deals, leading to them being scattered like Horcruxes. It's a fucking nuisance, and it's significantly more expensive than if you had just bought the physical media. You could save so many doubloons if you just purchased the complete series of it physically and own
I wish you could
actually.
do that. Everything should be
And in that
purchasable.
situation, you don't lose access to it unless you misplace it or throw it in the trash or a burglar breaks in and steals it. They have to pry it from your cold dead hands to get your fucking complete Pokemon DVD set. But through streaming services, you are inevitably going to lose it because things come and go from streaming platforms every fucking day.
Exactly.
So
Like, for example, there's this movie called 9, and I'm pretty sure a bunch of people have heard about it. It's a really good movie. It's a post-apocalyptic animated movie, and it's a pretty old movie, so it's pretty rare to find on other things. Like, for example, you can find almost everything on, like, Amazon, but the problem about that is that, like, you have to buy everything after you subscribe to the service, if I'm not wrong. Which gets a little bit annoying, just a little bit annoying. But it's like, come on. And Forensic Files, I love the original Forensic Files, and they removed that from Netflix. Why, Netflix? Why? Why did you do this? Oh, my teacher was pissed when they removed Friends, too.
What you paid access for to get is going somewhere else, and you're probably going to have to buy a subscription to another service to continue to have access to it. It super sucks. And if anyone's got their thinking caps on here, all roads lead to piracy here. I'm not advocating for piracy, mind you. I'm just saying it's a natural byproduct by offering such a dog shit service. It was actually Gabe Newell of Valve, who famously said, piracy is a service problem, meaning that if you're providing a bad service, it's going to lead to people pirating your shit because it's significantly easier than going through the proper channels. And that's the point we've reached. If you're trying to legally purchase things or go through the official means of getting what you want, it's a headache and it's hard.
It's terrible.
If you just pirate it, not only is it easier, but you also get the complete package, and it's not going anywhere if they decide to take it to a different streaming platform, or in the case of gaming, if they decide to like take the game down or shut it off or something like that.
They need to have like one thing that has everything. I'm so tired of exclusives. Because just, like, for example, Stranger Things is very exclusive to Netflix, right? You can't find it anywhere else. But let's say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012 is only on Paramount. By the way, I tried getting Paramount on my iPad, and we're not like stupid at tech, but we cannot figure out what the hell is going on and what's wrong with our stupid Netflix subscription or Paramount Plus subscription. It like won't work. It's like, come on. I think streaming services are pretty good, but there's a lot of flaws with them that need to be fixed.
You own it. That's another huge benefit. And you get the complete experience, like with SpongeBob, where you get the episodes that are currently censored. So all of this is just increasing piracy prevalence. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, Ubisoft and all of the other suits that for some reason aren't seeing what every other sane person in the world is. It's just baffling, because it doesn't take a genius to see this. Everyone sees how frustrating it is. And for Ubisoft to say, like, hey, you know what? It's time you get more comfortable not owning your games. It's really out
That's
of touch.
scary.
Especially, again, from Ubisoft. Keep in mind, they offer Uplay, which is probably the biggest joke the gaming community has ever been subjected to. And the only ones laughing at that comedy is Ubisoft, how they got away with releasing something so trash. It's baffling how bad Uplay is, but that's a whole different can of worms. Point is, right now, I think it is more important than ever to actually own what you pay for. I've just had a complete perspective shift on this topic over the last couple of years because we keep seeing how detrimental it is when you don't actually own the product here in gaming in particular. So yeah, I think Ubisoft is future for gaming, where it's probably going to end up with everything offering some kind of subscription-based service, but it's not exactly a future to start pumping your fist over. I really do think owning the product is extremely important now, because we see how easily it can be snatched away for any multitude of reasons. So yeah, just wanted to...
Also, on a side tangent, here's something that I think anybody, no matter what you are, what your identity is, I literally do not think anybody disagrees with what I'm about to say, except for companies. Can we please build products that last more than 5 days? I'm so sick of getting products that last for like 2 years and then completely stop working. I get it, stuff, you know, fails, and, you know, there's wear and age to things. But you know what? That's not, like, there are things that last a while. For example, you know what? Like, for example, like, new Subarus are not that bad, but, like, the old Subarus, you know how many old Subarus I saw in Cali? Because they built them really good, even back then. Even today, they build them pretty good. But, like, come on, people. There's no excuse for this. And now, I know, they're doing it that way they can just make money off of broken crap. That's literally the only reason they do it. It's annoying. So annoying.
About this a little bit because it kind of got thrust back into the limelight here with Ubisoft making these statements, and it's something I've been talking about on stream for a little while now. That's about it. See ya.
See ya.
Once in a lifetime, it's never.
I don't want jewelry. It's too expensive. And it's just diamonds. That's all it is. It's diamonds. State of gaming.
Good afternoon, my fellow gamers. As all of you know, I am one of you. I am an avid enjoyer of gaming. It's been a huge part of my life for my entire life. It's in my veins, it's in my blood, it's embedded deep in my DNA. My body isn't powered by a heart, it's powered by another graphics card. It's a 4090 in here that's keeping this flesh mech suit online. Like Tony Stark, but nerdier. Anyway, I feel as though I'm the only one qualified to give you the State of Gaming address for 2024. Now, I've seen a lot of groaning and moaning, a lot of whining and complaining, a bunch of hoo-wee and hoo-ha and yee-haw about gaming industry is dying, it's this festering wound, it needs a huge change, this and that. And while I agree with some of the sentiment, I actually think there are signs that the industry is going in a better direction overall. And I'll explain what I mean, but I want to start with something obvious. A lot of the $70 games we've been getting recently are just terrible.
They are.
Worth playing, definitely not worth paying $70 for, such as Suicide Squad, and most recently, the first quadruple A game, according to Ubisoft, Skull and Bones. Suicide Squad has flopped.
What does AAA mean?
To under 1,000 players on Steam.
Is an informal classification used to classify video games produced and distributed by a mid-sized or major publisher, which... Okay, so AAA games are like pretty big. Like they're made by, it's not made by like some indie developer. They're made by like Ubisoft and Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, Mojang.
Good afternoon, my fellow.
Got it. Hey.
Ship combat game without boarding. So it takes out the most fun part about being a pirate, the boarding, and reduces it to just being a cutscene. Quadruple A my ass. Unless all of those A's stand for different adjectives for how bad it is. Abominable, awful, abysmal, asinine. Like, it's so stupid to me how this game is out there right now in its beta, or whatever, for $70 when it doesn't even...
Are you kidding me? It's beta? You're selling a beta game for $70? Bro, flushing your money down a toilet is going to get you better use of it than... Oh, that is terrible. Ow, gross, ew.
Boarding. Fucking Assassin's Creed Black Flag a decade ago has better ship combat and a lot more fun experience.
Is there a game called Sea Pirate or like
crazy.
Sea of Thieves?
Skull and Bones, I want to make it clear. I've only watched the streamers play it as well as the reviews on it, and I think it is in an inexcusably bad state. This is just blatant garbage that's being put out here for a quick payday and a big infusion of cash. I don't foresee them ever actually making this game good. I'll go ahead and put it on record here. We can.
If only I could be a game developer, I'd make a good game that everybody would like. I know that's oversaid. I want to make a game that everybody likes, that everybody loves.
Painfully mediocre at best. The best compliment I've seen anyone give Skull and Bones is that it's mediocre. Can you imagine that? Paying $70 for mediocrity.
$70
with a smile on your
Bruh.
face, because I can't. And
A third of my
you
weekly
shouldn't accept it either.
paycheck, my guy.
This is where I get into the positive news. Where a lot of these games have increased their price and decreased their quality, the gap in the market has only widened for people hungry for actually good games. And that gap has been filled by smaller studios making smaller games. So like the $40 price tag games, for example. Those have been dominating 2024. Pal World breaking all of the records, basically. And now, most recently, Helldivers 2 having this amazing blow-up.
Okay, what the heck is Helldivers 2? It looks good. It actually looks kind of good. I almost thought about buying it. I might if I ever have no other games to play. It looks like a fun game to play. I actually am a little bit interested in Helldivers.
400,000 concurrent players right now for Helldivers 2.
Shit!
And it's growing by the day. And Helldivers 2 is an amazing game. It's full of passion and fun. I think it's one of the best co-op experiences I've had since Lethal Company. And speaking of Lethal Company, that's another example to what I'm saying. Last year we saw Lethal Company come out and absolutely spank the cheeks of the gaming industry. Had it bent over their knee, disciplining them, showing them how it can be done. If you just make a fun game. It's a cheap game made by a single developer, and it took the whole industry by storm for a while, and it's still popular to this day. So,
Confirm with clear water
That has PP in it.
with a clear line.
Aruba. Hey, the more people in there, it's just gonna make it dirtier.
It's our President's Day home sale. Come in, save, and make yourself at home. JCPenney, make it count.
we're seeing these games pop up that aren't blockbusters by any means. They're not $100 million production, fucking 10 years in development hell. You know, these are games made by smaller teams that just deliver unique and fun experiences. And it shows how hungry gamers are for that kind of product. I've said for a while, the future of gaming is not in more AAA titles that get more and more expensive to produce and spend more and more time in development. It's these games, these like AA games coming out that are cheaper, a lower price point, and still offering many hours worth of fun to players. And we're seeing that right now, and you're seeing how they're being rewarded with this level of success. And I think that is a great sign for things to come. I'm hoping this will start to push developers away from just, you know, pumping out this formulaic, by-the-numbers, generic garbage like Suicide Squad, trying to capitalize on buzzword genres like live service nonsense, even though there's nothing in there that makes the game actually worth playing. Or
I'm so sick of okay, if you're gonna make a live service game, make a live service off service, right? Like Minecraft, Terraria, Astroneer, and Borderlands 3 are a great example because you can play the game offline, but you can make even more fun by playing online. You know what I mean? Like, it's fun either way you play.
Putting out the most bare bones pirate game ever just to try and capitalize off that as well. I'm hoping companies will start to pay more attention to the success of these $40 games, these smaller games, and shift to that direction. Instead of spending 5 years developing a pile of mediocre garbage, why not spend a year or so developing something that's much smaller in scale, but tries to do something different that is just a fun game for maybe like 10, 15 hours even. You don't need a game that's going to keep a player hooked for like 80 hours plus by just delivering more escort missions like Suicide Squad aims to do. You can be satisfied by delivering like a $20 to $40 game that gives the player 15 hours worth of fun and they're done with it by the end. That's totally fine, you get your money's worth, and that makes me excited. Now granted, the 3 examples I've given of these massive games that are smaller teams, smaller price, Pal World, Helldivers 2, Lethal Company, those games have tons and tons and tons of hours worth of content in them for you to enjoy, but I still think there's nothing wrong if the industry shifts to making smaller games that are only like 15 hours worth of entertainment, as long as it's a really unique experience and it's fun to play. I think you will get your money's worth, and the price point being at that 20 to 40 range. Like the $70 price tag should be reserved for the really meaningful titles, like a GTA 6 style thing. Obviously that's the most extreme example. But when you see a $70 price tag for something, you're expecting the highest level of quality. But right now when you see $70 or $60, it's you could be getting the worst game of the year. Fucking Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash is a $60 game right now. And that game is unforgivably awful. And I think it's good news that these AAA developers are not being rewarded for it. Like again, Suicide Squad flopping, Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Clash, the most refunded game in history, I believe, according to one of the articles I read, which makes sense because anyone that bought that game actually got scammed. Actually, just completely full-blown blatant scam, so it makes sense everyone would be refunding it. Like, and Skull and Bones looking like it's going to be a flop. All of these big budget productions that are being sold for $60 to $70 are not really turning a big profit for these companies. So I feel like they're going to start to pay a lot more attention to the smaller budget titles and the titles that they can actually do more with, because you won't need to invest years upon years of development time to it. You instead just need to invest into a good idea and a passionate team that can deliver something fun for a reasonable price. Like, it's that simple. And we're seeing this proven time and time again now, more often now than ever. So I actually like the direction the gaming industry is going right now, because we're rewarding some of the more unique titles, the more fun titles, like the Helldivers. Like, it's nice to see that. Recently, the most popular games haven't been dominated by AAA blockbusters just bullying indie titles or anything. It's actually been the smaller studios, the smaller, cheaper games that are annihilating the big boys on the block. And I just think that's great. So I'm excited to see if this trend continues throughout 2024. It's still very early. We haven't seen the biggest heavy hitters of 2024 come out yet. So I guess that remains to be seen how exactly it's all going to shape up. But I wanted to talk about it a little bit because it put a smile on my face seeing the success of Helldivers today. Helldivers was really like the catalyst that made me want to talk about it because I really love everything they've done with that game, and I'd love to see a game like that being rewarded in the way that it is. And I hope we see more things like it throughout the year and just generally in the future of gaming. I really hope we can start getting away from all of these massive $100 million games that just are soulless, just cash grabs, and we get back to having more AA titles out there. I remember in the Xbox 360 era, early in the 360's lifespan, there were so many games coming out from so many different studios that just had all kinds of creative ideas that they were just throwing shit at the wall to see what stuck. And sometimes you had some hidden gems, some bangers. But nowadays, in the mainstream gaming space, these giant players only invest heavily into like one or two projects and put all of their eggs in that basket. And most of the time, it's not turning a profit anymore because the games just aren't really hitting. Like, some of them are, of course, obviously. But there's been so many flops recently that you just keep hearing about. It's not sustainable. You can't have every game take 6 years in development and cost 9 figures to develop. It's not going to work long term. So I really think the future is back into smaller in scale, smaller in scope and development time, and you produce some interesting shit. So I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's kind of where I think everything is in the gaming industry right now, and I'm pretty optimistic for the future of it. That's really about it. So yeah.
So what's the good news? I'm literally...
Oh, that's how you're supposed to destroy these.
New tonight at 11.
Oh, there's the nacelle. It's a big boy. There's a blade. I know it's a really weird request, Astroneer, but can you name the debris so I can have fun looking at the names? Worst what?
Motivation was he wanted
Worst
to try
fight
and
ever.
give back to people. I read a rather goofy story yesterday that I'd like to share with all of you. It's about a man who drained his family's entire bank account in order to throw it all in cash out of a speeding vehicle on the interstate. I believe the motivation was he wanted to try and like give back to people, but it's the most inefficient way imaginable. He's like a very confused Robin Hood. He didn't
I'm
say-
sorry, but this, as a cash and coin collector, that pisses me off. Throwing it onto the side of a highway? Are you stupid? You are literally costing... Literally... You're the reason why inflation exists. You are literally wasting money. And, like, I get it. You want to go... You want to go give it back? Okay, go give it back. Like, actually give it to people, not throw it on the side of a highway, dummy.
From the rich to give to the poor, he stole from his family to give to nature, because most of those bills that he loosely threw out of the car have absolutely ended up just getting either eaten by animals
pollution,
or buried in dirt, sand, run over by other cars, ripped in half. Like, it's just the dumbest plan ever.
Dude, the amount of star notes that are probably worth a lot more than $200,000. There's definitely some star notes in there. That makes you sad.
Nothing about it makes sense. He did it in loose $100 bills. That's giving the money to nobody.
They were
He
Benjis.
basically just created a real-life video game Easter egg. If you go to these random coordinates off the interstate, you might find a few loose hundreds. It is wild. I can only envision a couple of other worse ways of trying to give money to people, and that'd be like dumping $200K in cash down a river and then saying like, well, I wanted to help people, so anyone that happens to go by the river might be able to fish out a couple hundreds or a couple $1,000s from it. Or dumping $200K into a dormant volcano and then saying it's like a long con, so when the volcano erupts, it's like this giant money like geyser that's shooting money into the atmosphere for people to collect on its way down. Like, it's just wildly nonsensical and inefficient if you're actually trying to help people. However, chat actually tossed around a theory that opened my third eye to what was probably the motivation behind this, and it most likely wasn't to help people. So I'm just going to lay it out real quick before showing you all the clips. Basically, this guy drained his family's entire joint bank account of $200,000.
That
and then
sucks,
threw
dude.
money out of his car on the interstate. Now, since $200K was now missing from the family's bank account and a lot of money was thrown out of the window and scattered throughout the interstate on the side, they just assumed all $200K had been thrown out by this guy. But what is most likely the case is he threw out a chunk of it, maybe like $10,000, and then kept the other $190K and can just pretend that he threw all of it away, meanwhile has pocketed most of it.
Dude, if that actually is what he did, he's probably smart.
Like $2,000, $1,000, this and that. But it's not like there's these huge batches of like 50K or anything. Like all of the reported numbers so far are $1,000 to $2,000, so it doesn't equal 200K. He very, very well could have just thrown out a small portion of it and kept the rest in order to throw his family off his trail. Like, no, I don't have the money anymore. I threw it all away to help people. Meanwhile, he actually does still secretly have the money. But that's just a theory. Though I do think that does have a lot of weight.
True religion commercial. Take one.
Box kick? Are you gonna need a box kick?
You hear about the man in Oregon who threw over 200K out of a speeding car on the highway? Yeah, that was a cool story. I'll bring that up. That's a wholesome one. It's not
Machinima?
actually. But his heart was in the right place. He's just a little confused.
$200,000 cash out a car window. He said he wanted to help people in need.
Yep.
It was his money.
His car as he drove along an interstate in Eugene, Oregon.
Which is just a wild idea, by the way. Like, first of all, throwing 200K in cash anywhere is wacky. Like, that is outrageous. But to throw it out of a speeding vehicle is even stupider. It's going to be extremely hard to pick up the cash. But not only that, to throw it out of a speeding vehicle on the interstate where human beings are not, like, walking is even stupider. Then all the money's just going to keep getting run over until it's worthless. Everything about this plan screams that he had just done, like, PCP or something, and he was seeing God. He was like, holy shit, I'm chosen. Gotta drain the bank account to spread the love.
This guy was driving up and down I-5, dropping out tons of cash.
Chaos erupted as motorists pulled over looking for...
Okay, guys, you're not gonna believe what I'm about to say, okay? You ready for this? This is insane. Maybe you should realize that. Cash blows in the wind? This cash is literally gonna get blown away. It's gonna get blown up into the stratosphere. It'll probably land in the rivers. It's gone. All that cash is gone. It's not gonna come back. What a maniac. This guy just disposed of so much money.
It's also extremely dangerous just to be walking around the interstate like this.
You know, maybe I'm about to say something unpopular here, okay? But I hope there is a charge. I hope there is a criminal penalty for destroying this much cash, okay? Now, drawing on cash, okay, that's a little bit of annoying to me. Like, but at the same time, the cash still exists. But throwing it out into an interstate and letting it blow away, at that point, the cash isn't even there. It's gone. It's gone. No one will ever see those $200,000 ever again. That's $200,000 I could have paid someone's tuition, or could have actually gone to donate to charity, or whatever, anything. But throw it on the end.
Like, this is the worst place you could have ever had people going on a fucking scavenger hunt. And at night, too. This lady's out here playing on Ultra Nightmare mode. She's wearing black on black. I don't know what the fuck that thought process is. Hopefully she doesn't see like $100 bill out there, because that could spell the end. That could just be a disaster. Or if you were like an evil supervillain, you put like $100 bill on like a fishing line, you throw it out and reel it in like Mr. Krabs when he was chasing that dollar around. Like, this whole thing is just so fucking ridiculous.
Word spread fast.
Some friends called me and said that they got $2,000.
They left their cars on the side of the road with traffic whizzing by. Just a handful of people wondered if this was the right thing to do.
We have one of the people who picked up the large sum of cash, $1,800 worth.
Oh, they thought it was stolen.
I wanting to know what to do with them.
The dude who is said to have tossed out the family bank account has been identified as Colin Davis McCarthy.
Classic Colin W.
Say he does.
This guy isn't in any legal trouble at all because he was on the account. He had a right to throw the money away, as crazy as it sounds.
The family says, please
Sounds like a
return
radio
it.
DJ.
That money is very much needed by the family.
There needs to be a criminal charge for destroying this much money. You know what? Again, I'm a person against destroying money, okay? I will say though, I have struck pennies, okay? Like, I've put engravings on pennies, okay? That's one thing, because although it's a little bit of annoying, yeah, the penny still exists at the end of the day, right? You can still use that penny, but when you destroy it, or melt it, or melt money, or shred money, it's gone. You can't get it back unless you go to the BEP. Like, no one's going to give you that money back. It's gone, okay? If you're going to do something with money, at least deface it over destroy it. I mean, don't deface it, but if you're going to wanted to deface it, what I'm trying to say is defacing is better than destroying. And this guy destroyed.
Such a fucking crazy story. Every single iota of that plan is dumb. Draining all of the money from his family's account, and then instead of like if he wanted to just give away everything, like all of his worldly possessions or whatever, that's one thing. You like actually give it away or do some kind of, I don't know, effective means of giving. This guy just
hey,
threw it
look,
out
I can
over the
combine
interstate
this
like a bank robber, and then he throws away like his family's financial security. I bet it was only like 80K, and they're just lying. Brother, what? Okay, let's assume you're right. If he threw out 80K from the car window, the story is just as fucking stupid. It's not like the amount that makes it outrageous. It's the whole idea of it, though the amount absolutely does help elevate the goofiness. I'll be waiting on 275 for someone to do this. Yeah, maybe he's gonna start a trend like that whole pay it forward trend where in a drive-thru you used to pay for the people behind you's meal. Maybe now people just drain their bank accounts and start tossing that shit out the window on the interstate. I'd love to like see an interview with Colin. I want to know. Can you imagine Mr. Beast doing the same thing? I really couldn't. Like, I actually couldn't. I could see like a really supervillain's a word I've been using a lot recently, but I can't think of another word for it. But I could see like a rich supervillain doing something similar. Like maybe this inspires him and he throws out like 200K, but over like an old minefield. Like some of those locations that still have buried landmines that are a danger to people, just literally throwing it out there and not telling people, or not telling people it's all landmines everywhere. Like, that could be crazy. I could see that. That'd be like an actual plot for some kind of evil bad guy. Vigilante. Well, that's definitely not the right word for it. That's not a vigilante at all. That's like actual Squid Games, yeah. Draining the family's bank account without telling them or anything like that, immediately ruining like pretty much their life, that's debilitating. To give all the money away is one thing, but to just throw it out the window is a totally different one. Like if you just set up a garage sale where people like pull up and he gives you money to take away some of his items, like I'd be like, oh wow, what a fucking saint. Look at this guy. Let's get a load of this fucking guy. But he did it on the interstate. I almost feel like he did want to see people getting hit. Like maybe he actually is just a evildoer. He was like, I'm gonna throw out 200K and I want to see how many greedy people go out there to collect it and then get fucking slaughtered. Like Jigsaw playing a game with people's greed. Oh, that's interesting. He probably threw out 10K and kept the rest. That... maybe we're not giving him enough credit. Perhaps this was all a ruse. So he drains the family's bank account, and then he comes up with this outrageous plan. I'll throw some of the money out on the interstate. The family would report 200K is missing, and then this story would come out with all of this money that was thrown on the interstate, but we only have like a few people that have confirmed like 2K, 1.5K. Yeah. Oh, maybe. So he threw out 10K and he's pocketed the other 190, and they're like, oh shit, damn, guess it's all gone. Sorry guys, I just really wanted to help people.
That's
Meanwhile,
actually
he's still
not
got 190K in
that's
his
a smart
fucking
idea. Evil, but smart.
Holy shit, that's what the 80K guy was saying. He's actually smart. True, yeah. I'll eat shit on the 80K guy. That must have been like the tree he was barking up there. That is quite the plan. That is a nefarious plot. And would actually be kind of smart if you're trying to fuck your family and take all the money for yourself. Yeah, because the amount doesn't match up with what people picked up. Well, it's only what people have reported. Do you know how many people have probably been out on this fucking interstate for the last 2 days? Literally camping there? You probably have some of those, like, old beachgoers with the metal detector out looking for $100 bills now. Like, the spirit's there, but the brain's not. The body's willing, but the mind's fried. Like, they're probably trying everything. So maybe it was the whole 200K, the whole kit and caboodle, and people have just taken it and, went home and haven't talked to the news agencies about it. Because, again, most people are going to assume it's stolen cash, and with stolen cash, I imagine you have to give it back. So they're probably like, fuck that. I'll take this 30K worth of stolen cash I found in the ditch here and just go home.
Let's go on, Bones is advertising. Dude, 70. Try it for free. Oh, so you're gonna say try for free now? Aye. Provisional CEO.
Or something. Have you ever heard of Andy Owen? Well, you're about to. I'm gonna drag you kicking and screaming in front of an Andy Owen original here with this big meltdown that she had on video where she made an absolute fool of herself. Now, Andy Owen is the head of Miller Knoll, which is the company most famous for their Herman Miller chairs. They're high-end chairs, and with the way people talk about them, I have to imagine that shit is made out of, like, unicorn hide or something. It is actually fucking sewn with angel's tears. It must be so fucking comfortable with the way people rant about how amazing they are. I've never seen them, I've never tried them, so I don't really have a horse in that race on whether or not Herman Miller chairs are worth their price or whatever. But all I can tell you is Andy Owen is not worth her salary because she just embarrassed that whole company. In a nutshell, she had a video come out that surfaced where she was telling the employees that they need to stop worrying about not receiving company bonuses. They need to just do the work and everything's going to be all right.
Oh,
They need to
cool.
focus instead on hitting their company's $26 million sales goal, and that's all that matters. Fuck bonuses, who cares? Meanwhile, she's getting a nearly like $4 million bonus herself. So the employee bonuses are kaput, but hers is still just fine. And her video is just so bad. And it was so bad, in fact, that she has already released an apology. In an email sent to employees, she said, "I want to be transparent and empathetic, and as I continue to reflect on this instance, I feel terrible that my rallying cry seemed insensitive when I hoped would energize the team to meet a challenge we've met many times before and landed in a way that I did not intend, and for that I am sorry. Nothing will lessen the power and strength of our collective team. My appreciation for each of you is huge, and I will continue to do everything I can to help us meet our shared goals. Thank you for your hard work, your grace, and for the commitment you show to one another and our company every single day." This is a big nothing burger. This is actual garbage. Like, as far as apologies go, this is about as insincere as it gets. This is corporate PR speak. It's not like she was giving a rallying cry. She literally just started vomiting, just diarrheaing out cliches and just worthless platitudes to her employees before getting visibly angry that her employees were upset about not getting a bonus, and then even told them to leave Pity City. So it's all stupid.
Pitbull
here.
City?
This apology
Pitbull's
is
Pitties?
trash.
The most important thing we can do right now is focus on the things that we can control.
Oh.
None of us could have predicted COVID. None of us could have predicted supply chain. None of us could have predicted bank failures. But what we can do is stay in front of our customers, provide the best customer service.
Maybe I should really understand the situation beforehand. So this right now sounds like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation with axing the bonuses last minute.
It's nice to know Ameren provides access to programs to help people make ends meet.
Skilled professionals helping you to be your best. This option.
Let me put a line in here. It's so dark.
After telling employees to leave Pity City over lack of bonuses, damn, actually dropped an unironic welcome to the Wambulance. How about a side of French fries? Jesus Christ. CEO of the high-end furniture company is sparking backlash over video in which she exhorts employees to leave Pity City. After some asked about staying motivated in the absence of a company bonus, Andy Owen, whose company Miller Knowles sells the iconic Herman Miller Aeron chair, along with other upscale furniture, responded in the 1 minute 21 second clip. Okay, this is all about the clip. But what's like the actual situation though? So it looks like she got a multi-million-dollar bonus and canceled all of the employees' bonuses.
Just terrible. That's like that one guy from Christmas Vacation who cancels all the bonuses and he gets kidnapped.
Prerequisite lore I need to be familiar with.
There's iron right there, you see it?
Seem like it. Also, Herman Miller chairs I know are like the holy grail of comfort for people. Matt, for example, can't stop talking about Herman Miller chairs. But I've never seen nor tried one.
Service we can. Get our orders out our door. Treat each other well. Be kind. Be respectful. Focus on the future because it will be bright. It's not good to be in the situation we're in today, but we're not going to be here forever. It is going to get better. So lead.
So many platitudes so quickly.
Well, talk to them, be kind, and get after it. Don't ask about what are we going to do if we don't get a bonus.
Well, yeah, she's starting to get a little animated. She's literally just regurgitating the biggest fucking cliches of all time. Everything she said there was nothing but buzzword nonsense. Jesus Christ. It reminds me of that clip from that streamer who was like, well, why don't we just throw ourselves off a bridge? The world is dying. The animals are leaving. And that's okay because all we need is ourselves. And do you really need anything else? Or whatever. And then it goes into the Call of Duty montage. Oh, what was that speech again? That's up there with like some of the greats, like we choose to go to the moon. I think it was Invader Vice. I think she was the one that said it, right? Oh, here it is. The planet is dying, the government hates us, the animals are leaving, the aliens aren't contacting us, we might be alone, but that's okay because do you really need anyone else? And then 30 Seconds to Mars starts playing.
What? What's that? What's that?
Alone, but that's okay. That said it right. Oh, here it is. The planet is dying, the government hates.
What? Huh?
But if we don't try, then what the fuck is stopping us from just throwing ourselves off a bridge and giving up and saying, yeah, the planet is dying, the government hates us, the animals are leaving, the aliens aren't contacting us, we might be alone, it just might be you and me, but that's okay, because do you really need anyone else?
Corn hide or something. It is actually fucking sewn with angels' tears. It must be so fucking comfortable with the way people rant about how amazing they are. I've never seen them, I've never tried them, so I don't really have a horse in that race on whether or not Herman Miller chairs are worth their price or whatever. But all I can tell you is Andy Owen is not worth her salary because she just embarrassed that whole company. In a nutshell, that she had a video come out that surfaced where she was telling the employees that They need to stop worrying about not receiving company bonuses. They need to just do the work.
Ooh, tub video, let's go.
Start your home's upgrade this month with 40% off Felco windows, siding, doors, and roofing. Plus, no interest.
Alright, I mean, I like that idea, but I don't want to be doing windows in the middle of winter.
Photos that were taken before disasters. Before we do get into that, I do want to say, how are you guys? I hope life's been treating you good. I hope February 14th was eventful to some degree. And I do want to remind you guys that we're very close to 2 million subscribers. If you are a new viewer, I'll let you know that you don't have to subscribe. I'll earn your subscription by the end of this video. I do, however, want to say that today's video is on the more serious side. I know all the videos on the channel are morbid, but some are more serious than others. And this video is one of those. With that being said, let's get straight to the topic. Sometimes my videos get age restricted and demonetized, so I do want to give a big thanks to today's sponsor, Opera. I've been using Opera for a little amazing free video. Garrett Miller's last photo. I'm angry. I feel like Garrett was let down. I feel like we've been let down. We feel like something near and dear and precious to us has been ripped out of our hearts. Those were the words of a distraught Dave Mills speaking to the press after losing his son, 15-year-old Garrett Mills, to a rather pointless accident. Garrett Mills died on May 12, 2017 at King Street Park in Napanee, Ontario, Canada, shortly after leaving school while hanging out with both his girlfriend and best friend. Just about 10 minutes before his death, these photos had been taken, and they quite accurately captured the mood that he was in. In the first photo, you can make out the
kind of happy
behind his ear. He had tucked in a flower, a dandelion to be more specific. Then the second photo has him flexing his muscles for the camera. In both photos, he's smiling. This is actually confirmed by what was reported. According to this article, Garrett's girlfriend had told his dad that Garrett had said that was the quote, best day of his life. It also helps, but is rather saddening to know that the trio had been hanging out at King Street Park to kill time ahead of Garrett's first ever official date with his girlfriend, which would have been at the movies later that evening. So, what happened to Garrett 10 minutes after these photos were taken? Well, a goalpost fell on him, killing him instantly. Apparently, he had been showing off a little bit for his girlfriend and started doing chin-ups on the soccer crossbar. Unfortunately, the whole thing tipped over and hit him on the head. As his dad put it just simply tipped over on him, and the crossbar struck him on the left side of his head, killing him instantly. He also
at least there's no suffering, man.
Was instantaneous. Some other
Poor guy.
details that emerged included the fact that the goalpost was a bit of an older model, which meant most of the weight was at the top. We're talking 180 to 200 pounds. Also, it wasn't anchored down. The father phrased it as, quote, needless and not needing to have happened. He also went on to say that based on his knowledge of the park, he had no idea it carried such a risk. His exact words mean that he never thought, quote, this harmless park had the potential to take somebody's life, end quote. And that goalpost was immediately replaced with this one, which is anchored down. That, however, didn't stop Garrett's dad from committing to getting justice. While saying he wasn't out to get blood, he explained that he for sure knew someone dropped the ball and he was going to find out who, quote unquote, whether it was budget, whether it was just neglect or forgetfulness. I would say that this is a very understandable course of action, given that in the past, other parents have done so and succeeded in not only getting justice, but helping prevent this happening to other people. I'm specifically referring to a case in 2003 where a 184-pound goalpost, in the same manner as this one, fell on 6-year-old Zachary Tran, prompting his parents to push for an Illinois law to remedy the situation. The push resulted in Zach's Law, which basically required all goalposts in Illinois to be impossible to trip, whether anchored or movable. All that being said though, it remains quite unnerving knowing that just 10 minutes after these pictures were taken, Garrett would pass on.
Is Scott's Law Illinois exclusive? Oh, I think it might be. Okay, guys, actually very, very interesting thing. What is Scott's Law? Well, if I'm not wrong, this guy who, I think his last name was Scott, either his last name or his first name was Scott, and as he was on the side of the highway, a car was speeding and it killed him. And now, because of that, we have a thing called Scott's Law, which I'm not complaining that it's stupid. It's a very, very effective law. It needs to be kept in place. What basically means is that if you see someone on the side of the road, you need to either slow down or move over. Is it only? Scott's Law 625 ILCS 511 907C is a mandatory move over law in the state of Illinois that requires all motorists to move over and encountering a stopped or disabled emergency vehicle displaying warning lights. Oh, Scott's Law is named after Lieutenant Scott Gill of the Chicago Fire Department, who was struck and killed by an intoxicated driver while responding to a crash on the Dan Ryan Expressway in December 23rd. Oh no. That's actually sad, dude. Jesus. A day before Christmas Eve, man. That makes the law even sadder. I didn't know the guy died on, like, right before Christmas. That poor man. That actually is really sad. He was just about to enjoy Christmas when some idiot who was drunk and intoxicated killed him. Intoxicated drivers don't need respect, man. I don't get why people drink and drive. That's just...
Flight 17. In July of 2014,
I think I might have heard about this.
777 plane, specifically Flight 17, in an evidently very tragic event, got shot down by a Russian-made surface-to-air missile while on its scheduled path.
Are you kidding me?
Flight from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The accident caused quite a stir as it bordered on being, or maybe was, a politically motivated attack with Russia being accused but refusing any responsibility. As recently as last year, the investigations were still ongoing with allegations of possible involvement by Putin. Now, there's a whole lot to say about that situation, but let's just focus on this photo here. This photo was actually taken shortly after boarding by a father and, as you might guess, it's of his wife and daughter. Apparently, Dave Hawley, the father, and his wife Kim Hawley were on that flight headed to their dream holiday in Malaysia together with their 4-year-old daughter, Megan. Unknown to Dave, this would be the last photo he'd ever take, and it would be a photo that their families would use to comfort themselves, telling themselves that, well, at least they were all together and happy. Monique, the sister, talking to CNN, said, "We were looking at them and yeah, it was a happy moment for them." I should just add here that the entire report by CNN, though short, is rather gut-wrenching and really shows the weight of losing an entire family to such an unexpected tragedy. You can only feel empathy when seeing Kim's dad break down as he explains who he blamed for his loss.
I think I'm late on my car insurance. Good thing the general gives you a break when you need.
They make large boy
keep you covered.
Do you
blame anyone for what's happened?
Yes, the man who hits the button to start the racket to blow up the aeroplane. If I get him, I could kill him.
Man, civilians killed by military-grade weaponry in a war or a conflict they didn't even take part in. A war and a conflict that they probably didn't even agree with, didn't even support, neither denied, and they just had to get caught up in it. Way to go, Russia. And when I say, like, Russia, I'm not blaming the people. No, I'm the government, okay? People are just as victimized as everybody else here. They're also tortured by their government. The people in Russia don't do anything. It's the government that does something.
Fondly remember the Hollies, even down to the tiniest little details. For instance, Monique says that Dave and Kim, quote, always wanted to win, which made her, Monique, and Kim's parents hopeful that even as the unidentified caskets were being offloaded in Holland, Dave, Kim, and their daughter would be first. I could go on and on dissecting that CNN feature, but I think you guys get the point. They were a loving family that became dearly missed from day one. And I believe that entire feature makes looking at Dave's last photo even more saddening. I mean, for instance, hearing Kim's mother narrate the last moments with them, saying goodbye to her granddaughter, Megan, as the family left for the airport, seeing their empty house, a family car outside, and flowers for the memorial. Then looking at that last photo makes one imagine the kind of gap that they left behind. Truly more than just a tragic tale of a photo captured before a disaster. And in case you were wondering, the investigations led to the prosecution of Igor Girkin, a military officer, Sergei Dubinsky, an intelligence officer, and Leonid Karchenko, a military commander. All were found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment. This happened back in November of 2022, but interestingly,
they actually took justice against those
Turns
people.
out, and I already mentioned this, the prosecutors had strong indications that Russia's President Putin might have approved the missile launch, thus believing that more prosecutions could be made. The evidence was, however, not enough, leading to the end of the investigation in February of 2023. Much to the disappointment of the Netherlands, as their Prime Minister, Mark Rutte, said, "We will continue to call the Russian Federation to account for its role in this tragedy." Pat Tillman's last photo. Next up is the incredibly sad case of Pat Tillman, whose death at the prime age of 27 would go on to unearth a rather complex web of alleged lies, cover-ups, and borderline sabotage actions by the US government, and maybe unsurprisingly, the US media. First, let's begin with the photo. This here is Pat. That photo was taken sometime before April 22nd, 2004 in southeastern Afghanistan's Khost province, where Pat, a member of the 75th Ranger Regiment, was patrolling alongside his unit. That turned out to be the last photo ever taken of him, because on April 22nd, he would get killed. 3 bullets to the head at close range. Now, one thing you should know about Pat is that he used to be an NFL player before enlisting in around 2002. The enlisting
3 to
was
the
also
head
right
at very
after
close
9/11
range.
attacks, and his
Interesting.
motive, clearly, was to stand up for his country and
How
face
close of a
terror.
range?
He enlisted to join the
Execution?
fight against Al-Qaeda and the effort to bring Osama bin Laden to justice. As this article from The Intercept explains,
Wait, what? Hold on,
the
excuse me, what?
motive, clearly, was to stand up for his country in the face of terror. He enlisted to join the fight against Al-Qaeda and the effort to bring Osama bin Laden to justice.
That is a man right there. GG's, dude. He said, you know, F terrorism, I'm gonna go fight these homies. And he just joined the military. What a brave man. I salute that guy. That guy is a brave guy. He is my type of guy. If he was still alive, I'd go buy him a drink.
As this article from The Intercept explains,
That guy deserves every single drink he gets at the bar for fighting terrorism.
With the Arizona Cardinals made his story jump right into the headlines as the Bush administration used it for
3.6 million contract. Man, that guy is a hero. He don't care about no money. He wants to bring people to justice.
You can see why his death in 2004 was a big deal. The Army, for instance, reported that he'd been killed as he, quote, charged up a ridgeline, braving enemy fire and defending his fellow soldiers, publicized the death flying helicopters over a stadium in his honor, broadcasting his memorial on live TV, awarding him a Silver Star and the Purple Heart, and promoting him posthumously to corporal. A rather drastic twist, however, and this is where the lies began unraveling, came in when news spread that Pat wasn't killed by enemy fire, but rather by his own side. And while mostly termed accidental, this became a contested view since the facts never added up. Army doctors, for instance, said the shots were, quote, suspicious due to the close proximity of the wounds. As news caught on, the Army had to issue an announcement a month later, clarifying that indeed Pat had been killed by fellow soldiers. There
Friendly
were no
fire?
enemies nearby, and they did so rather brutally because apparently as they took aim at him, he yelled, "I'm Pat f***ing Tillman," trying to get them to stop. Those were the last words he'd ever speak. Even sadder though is the fact that it took years, 7 official investigations, and 2 congressional hearings for Pat's family to get some shreds of truth of what actually happened. Despite the Army admitting that Pat had died of friendly fire, they hadn't offered much explanation. As Pat's mother, Mary Tillman, put it, they had no regard for him as a person, and they attached themselves to his virtue and then threw him under the bus. His brother, Kevin Tillman, who was serving under the same unit as him, also told Congress that as the evidence raised questions on the Army's version of events, an alternative narrative had been constructed. In short, they lied because they didn't want to be publicly embarrassed. Now, this is a pretty elaborate case, and there's a lot of stuff that I've left out, but the following words by Kevin Tillman sort of encapsulate the whole thing. Speaking to Congress in 2007, he said, "The deception surrounding this case was an insult to the family, but more importantly, its primary purpose was to deceive a whole nation. Knowing all that, his last photo suddenly carries way more depth."
Just wow. Killed by his own men.
One of the most respected names in F1 from the 90s all the way to now is Ayrton Senna. This is his last photo, taken moments before he got into a fatal crash. I'll come back to the crash, but first, why? Why is he one of the most respected names in F1? Well, while researching this, I found some F1 fans on Reddit claiming that even though the current heavyweights of the sport, talking about Lewis and Schumacher, have endless titles to their names, Senna still retains a legacy of being the best F1 driver ever for his incomparable skills. Now, since these could be mere claims, I dug a little and found that it seems to be a very popular opinion. For instance, it turns out that Senna had a reputation for, quote, ruthless and risking.
As a father who works full-time, I want to be an example to show them that
where's that
even though
can that I have for
education
Astroneer?
and your dreams can be difficult to achieve, it's worth pursuing that goal.
I need to
This
find
is my
that.
comeback. Start yours at global.edu.
on the Grand Prix circuit. This means that even among the fastest, and you can already tell F1 drivers go pretty fast, he was still noticeably faster. Anyway, that kind of driving saw him quickly climb the ranks, soon becoming a professional driver with 41 Grand Prix titles and 3 Circuit World Championships to his name. He won 3 Formula One Drivers' Championships in 1988, 1990, and 91. Also, having hailed from Sao Paulo, Brazil, his mere presence at F1 meant he had set a bunch of other records. For example, he was one of 3 Formula One drivers from Brazil to have won the World Championship at the time. Now, going back to how fast he was, clear evidence of that is the fact that for about 17 years, from 1989 to 2006, no other driver broke his record for the
My
most
dog's
pole
being a
positions.
crackhead
Pole
again.
position, in case you didn't know, simply means the most advantageous starting point during a race. It's earned by the driver who sets the fastest speed during the qualifying trials, which happen
make
on race
RGGs.
day. So yeah, pretty fast. And unfortunately, it was the strength and speed that turned out to be Senna's weakness. How so? Well, on May 1st, 1994, during the San Marino Grand Prix held at the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari in Italy, while leading the race, Senna fatally crashed into a concrete barrier, with the incident being partially blamed on speed. This happened during the 7th lap when, during a corner named the Tamburello, his car left the racing line, ran in a straight path away from the track, and hit an unprotected concrete barrier. Data recovered from the wreckage revealed that Senna had been doing a staggering 192 miles per hour, that's 309 kilometers per hour for my non-US viewers, just before the corner. He had then braked hard, shifting down twice to get slower right before hitting the wall at 131 miles per hour, that's 211 kilometers per hour. The impact tore off the right front wheel and the nose cone as the car spun to a halt. Unfortunately, that wheel tore off and had bounced on the cockpit, hitting the front of his helmet, violently shoving him against the headrest, which had already been bent forward by the wall's impact. Senna not only suffered fractures to his skull, but also had head trauma as part of the suspension and upright assembly had penetrated his helmet. And although the medical professionals got to him while he was still alive, the head of the on-track medical team, Sid Watkins, said, "We lifted him from the cockpit and laid him on the ground. As we did, he sighed, and although I'm not religious, I felt his spirit depart at that moment." Later, investigations were done, and an Italian court blamed the accident on a, quote, hastily adapted steering column. This undeniably tragic event did lead to some positive changes, as it saw a revision of F1 rules about speed, runoff areas, track layouts, crash tests, and more, all to promote driver safety. Now, just like in all the previous cases, knowing all that, looking at Senna's last photo creates a much deeper empathy. Photo before tsunami. This next story might just have you questioning just how often things can happen out of random chance. So the story is about John and Jackie Nell, a couple from Vancouver, Canada, who died when a tsunami hit a beach where they were vacationing in Thailand. This happened back in December.
I'd say, how the hell did they get hit by a tsunami in Canada? I know they have oceans, but like that's pretty uncommon.
Away. Now we'll come back to that couple, but first let's talk about the story of Christian Pillay. So Pillay and his wife Nicole, both missionaries from Washington State, heard the news of the devastating tsunami that hit Thailand and traveled alongside some of their colleagues to go offer some help. They booked a hotel room and got right to it. And this was a month after the tsunami, about January 26th. The interesting part of Pillay's story is that while walking down the beach at Khao Lak, his friend Cameron kicked something with his foot, saying, "Look, it's a smashed digital camera." The camera itself was pretty obliterated, and Pillay himself said finding it seemed like a non-event. However, this non-event would turn out to be extremely useful, because when Pillay took the memory card out and plugged it into his Palm Pilot, what he saw were photos that captured the last moments of the beach before the tsunami hit. He said, "We were watching these pictures, seeing people live their lives, enjoying themselves, having a wonderful vacation, and then it was as if we had picked up a tape recorder and heard somebody's last conversation, and then it just ended suddenly." Unknown to him, it was John and Jackie Nell's final moments captured on camera. So how did the camera end up at the beach? Well, going back to the couple, it turns out that they had visited Thailand several times before, enough to consider it their second home. On that specific vacation, when the tsunami hit, they had been there a while, enjoying themselves as usual, and everything had been fine. They even called their children on December 25th to wish them a Merry Christmas, and the next day, the 26th, they woke up early to go to the beach to capture the beautiful moments, and brought along their digital camera. While at the beach, they spotted a large wave from a distance, and unaware of the impending danger, began taking photos of it. I believe these were the photos that Pillay described as hearing someone's last conversation. Here are some of those photos. You can easily make out that the wave can be seen in the far horizon in the first photo, and it builds with each photo to a very close-up range in the
Look at
last
that.
one.
That is like, there's one word that
Now,
I can describe with that.
Patrick,
Run.
David, and Christian, after seeing the news of the disaster and failing to get in contact with their parents, had John Nill's brother-in-law travel to Thailand in search for their bodies. He succeeded, as on December 31st, 2004, John's body was found, and later on January 13th, 2005, Jackie's body was also found. It's not clear what happened after, but undoubtedly, no one would have known the couple's last moments had Pillay not only randomly found the camera, but also made an effort to reach out to the family and share the photos with them. Patrick, one of the couple's sons, while admitting that it was hard to look at the pictures, said he was glad they had them, as he could then sleep better at night. He added that the pictures helped him imagine that there was nothing his parents could do to avoid the tsunami, and that maybe they chose to, quote, sit there at a place they loved. Darsh Patel's last photo. On Sunday, September 21st, 2014, Darsh Patel, a Rutgers University student and four of his university friends, decided to go hiking at the Upshawa Preserve in West Milford, New Jersey.
Oh, this ad. It's a bunch of aliens, and they get mad that everybody is not, like, paying attention to them because they're all on their phones.
You don't have to sell your home to live in a new one. Before and happily ever after.
New Jersey, carrying granola bars and water. This would have been a perfectly normal hike if it wasn't for one bear that was stalking them.
I'll say bear.
Yes, a black bear stalked the group.
Black bear. That's a big boy.
To death. Darsh was only 22 years old. Interestingly, or rather bizarrely, the attack, which authorities called highly unusual, happened just before Patel took this photo of the 300-pound black bear from about 100 feet or 30 meters away. Actually, he took a total of 5 photos with the bear seeming to get closer with each shot. It was after the pictures were taken that the bear truly came after them, with the chase beginning when it had already gotten too close, just 15 feet away. Maybe they ran in different directions, with the bear just coincidentally aiming for Patel. The police statement issued by Timothy Storbeck, the town's chief of police, actually confirms this, as in full it reads, "The group of 5 hikers encountered a black bear in the woods that began to follow them. They became frightened and attempted to flee the area. During the confusion, the group became separated as they ran in different locations. When they later regrouped, they discovered Patel was missing and immediately called the police. A search immediately ensued, and it wasn't until 2 hours later that Patel's body was found. He had sustained several bites and claw marks. Even his phone, which had the last photos that he took, had been gouged by the bear as it had fang marks. The search team, which included West Milford Police and the Environmental Protection Department, also found the bear nearby and, studying for a bit, reported that strangely it didn't seem interested in food and exhibited, quote, stalking type of behavior. It was also weird that the bear stayed about 30 yards from where Patel's body lay, just circling, and wouldn't leave until the officers scared it away. The police then decided to euthanize it, or more like shoot it down. A necropsy, which is basically an autopsy for animals, was then performed, and it was revealed that the bear had ingested human tissue, clothing, blood, and had blood on its paws. Now, while Patel's death was the first death to ever be attributed to a bear in New Jersey, this wasn't the first time that that specific bear had been sighted. It turns out that it had been seen by locals just hours before, looking for food. Experts confirmed that it wasn't uncommon to spot black bears in New Jersey. Bob Considine, the spokesman for the Department of Environmental Protection, for instance, said, "Bear sightings are not unusual by any stretch in New Jersey, and more often than not, these bears pose no threat to humans as they retreat when confronted." Maybe that's what Patel and his friends thought, that they could possibly scare it away, only that this specific bear was different, as authorities put it, due to its stalking and predatory behavior. It was also confirmed that Patel and his friends had not provoked the bear at all, only maybe attracting its attention by taking a few nature shots. And because I know this might cross your mind, let me add that commenting on the story, Lawrence Hajna, an expert, advised that when encountering a bear, quote, remain calm and do not run. Make sure the bear has an escape route, avoid direct eye contact, back up slowly, and speak with a low but assertive voice. Interestingly though, right after that advice, Lawrence added, "It's easier said than done." Bud Dwyer's last photo. Next up is this photo of Bud Dwyer, a man who, in an incredibly disturbing twist, took his own life on television. On January 22nd, 1987, burdened by a case of corruption and bribery, Dwyer shot himself on live TV. In the photo that I've just shown you, this one was taken moments before he did that. Now, Dwyer, born and bred in Missouri, had actually been a rather accomplished politician before any allegations were leveled against him. He had risen from the position of the 6th District Representative in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives in 1964 to hold holding the office of Pennsylvania Treasurer in 1984. His journey saw him get re-elected for some of the positions, and of course, his name grew bigger with each election cycle, all thanks to his tenacious spirit and sheer commitment to public service. This, however, took a drastic turn for him in 1984, when it was revealed that public employees in Pennsylvania from 1979 to 1981 had overpaid millions of dollars in taxes following an error that had caused tax deductions even when employees were on sick leave. In a bid to fix the mess, attempting to recover up to $40 million in Social Security taxes, Dwyer hired Computer Technology Associates, CTA, a small data processing company operating in Newport Beach, California, and CTA would get paid $4.6 million for the work. It was fishy, though, that such a big contract went to a firm with 3 full-time employees, and the competitive bidding process wasn't done. That, however, became the least of Dwyer's worries, because about 2 months later, on July 11th, he learned the FBI was looking into CTA for having bribed other public officials in Pittsburgh and Allegheny County to get similar contracts. He rescinded the CTA contract, but it was too late. It turns out that his political opponent, General Al Benedict, who had been eyeing the treasurer position, had obtained a sworn statement from Janice R. Kincaid, a former vice president at CTA, that implicated Dwyer. That meant rescinding the contract would do nothing to save him. The statement, widely circulated by Benedict, claimed that Dwyer received a kickback of $300,000 from CTA for the irregularly awarded contract. That's about $885,000.
That's a good amount of money today.
Now, political smearing or not, these allegations were really damning to Dwyer's career. It also didn't help that his opponent, General Al Benedict, had gone to great lengths to find information that would make him look bad. For example, the same statement also read that Mrs. Kincaid had been asked by CTA, her employer, to do, quote, anything she needed to make any of their customers happy. That was taken to strongly indicate, at least according to her, a request to offer sexual favors to clients. Now, these allegations had been quite extensive, involving others beyond Dwyer, with a CTA employee even alleging that her boss had a secret Swiss bank account holding $400,000. All the factors considered, it was estimated that it would at least take several months to fully investigate, and interestingly, as the investigations ensued, Dwyer termed the whole thing as a nightmare that just won't go away. He would then go on to try to frustrate the investigations, but the court eventually charged him with 11 counts of conspiracy, mail fraud, perjury, and interstate
Feel free to hire better, faster with Bamboo HR. Click below.
Alright, I don't know what he actually said.
Aid of racketeering. He faced 55 years in prison. Feeling cornered, he called for a press conference at the Pennsylvania State Capitol building in Harrisburg on January 22, 1987, and as reported by the New York Times, red-faced and sweating, Mr. Dwyer drew a .357 Magnum revolver from a manila envelope, and before anyone got to him, he put the barrel of the pistol in his mouth and pulled the trigger. He died about 30 minutes later. It was later discovered that knowing he would off himself, he asked for a letter to be delivered to Robert P. Casey, the then Pennsylvania governor. The letter detailed his dissatisfaction with the justice system, saying it did not, quote, function properly, and also requested that his wife Joanne Dwyer be appointed the interim treasurer. A pretty chilling case. I know it's very popular to talk about the actual video, since yes, there is a video of him doing that action, but I just thought it was it's really talked about, and I didn't even know there was a final image of him, so just wanted to bring that to light. Vicki Weaver's last photo. The last photo on our list is this one here of Vicki Weaver, whose death was probably avoidable had the FBI followed tactical procedures as set in the Constitution. How so? Well, Vicki died from a gunshot in August of 1992.
Wait a second.
At her family's cabin in Ruby Ridge, Idaho.
Oh no! I knew it! Ruby Ridge. For those people that don't know, it's one of the most notorious. It's just like Waco. Ruby Ridge is one of the most controversial, most failed botched FBI raids, where they essentially killed people with no evidence out of just nothing. They just ended the lives of innocent people for no reason whatsoever. It was such a botched, failed FBI, quote-unquote FBI raid. Just a shame.
FBI sniper, Lon Hiriuchi, during a standoff with Vicky's husband, Randy Weaver, fired a shot aimed at Kevin Harris, Randy's friend, only for it to end up hitting and killing Vicky. As argued in court by Jerry Spence, the Weaver's attorney, the sniper didn't need to fire the shots because, first, firing at an armed adult without warning them to surrender is unconstitutional. Second, the shots were fired while Randy and Kevin, the primary targets, were in retreat. And third, the sniper placed Vicky and her children at risk by firing at the cabin's door, not knowing who was behind it. As a matter of fact, the court upheld these charges, leading to the U.S. government incurring hefty fines. Randy and his three daughters were awarded $3.1 million for the tragic loss of Sammy, their teenage son, and Vicky. Just an insert here, Sammy, age 14, had actually been shot after allegedly firing at the FBI agents who had killed the family.
The dog. Yeah. They killed a dog because it was alerting their position. And this guy, apparently he's like, you SOBs, I'm gonna get you. And he tried to, he fired at a federal agent and he got taken down afterwards. Like, it was a complete shit show. Just like Waco, man.
Receiving $380,000, though this was in part to encourage him to drop the $10 million lawsuit he had mounted against the government. Now, what's really unhinged about this whole case is that it all started with a refusal by Randy to show up for a court hearing where he had been accused by ATF agents of, quote, making and keeping illegal weapons. Apparently, he had missed.
Oh, of course it's the ATF, forgot.
Also March of that same year. So,
the dumbest government branch in all of existence, the ATF. They'll cry about any gun you have.
I also don't think it helped that Randy had been a self-proclaimed white separatist and religious fundamentalist who didn't trust the government at all. In fact, the entire reason he was living in a cabin with no electricity or running water was to seclude himself from the corrupt civilization. The religious beliefs also made him believe that the world was coming to an end. It also seems that the standoff would have kept going if it weren't for civilian negotiator Bo Gritz, who convinced Randy to let Vicky's body be taken out of the cabin and for the critically injured Kevin to get medical help, and second, to surrender himself to law enforcement. Before I end this off, I do want to say rest in peace to all the people that I have spoken about in this video. Well guys, that was the end of this video. If you guys do like the way I presented this information, it would be awesome if you could leave a like on the video. I hope I earned your subscription. And if you want to watch a less sad video, you can go watch the Blippi one, for example. But yeah,
YouTubers should ruin their lives in seconds. EDP, yeah. EDP had it, dude. He had money, he had fans, he literally had it in the back. He didn't have to work another day in his life, but he just had to mess it up. And he got what he deserved because of what his crap.
But we don't really have the best reputation when it comes to allegations or accusations. Don't even get me started on Minecraft YouTubers. The fact that this meme exists just says enough. It is quite shameful that that is our stereotype, and trust me, it is very, very weird and just unsettling seeing people comment, I hope this certain YouTuber never ends up insert most heinous action here just because so many other YouTubers have ruined their reputations. And there are a lot. When I say a lot, I mean a lot. I'm not even including all of them in this video. We've talked about YouTubers who have ruined their careers in the past, but today we're going a tier below that. Today we're going to be talking about YouTubers who ruined their lives. And also, there's a chance this video might not be monetized. The other one got demonetized, and this is kind of like a sequel to that one. So I quickly do want to say that if you want to support me, your view is already enough for me. So I don't think you have to go out of your way to subscribe, but a subscribe would be nice, and a like would be cool too. If you want to go the extra mile, we do have slippers at earldoesn'texist.com. Look at that, this is so cute. They are amazing and will fit your foot. Size 8 to 12 men. So sorry if you have a foot smaller than size 8 men's size. But yeah, they're super comfortable, and I don't want the ad to go on too much, but if you guys want to buy them, they're at earldoesn'texist.com. They support me directly. Yeah, that's really all I wanted to say before we get into the serious topics of this video. Without further ado, let's get started with the video. Dream.
Oh boy.
Clay, who over the years has been an absolute force when it comes to Minecraft content. He's even been featured on Forbes, where they highlight his insane level of success. As of November 2023, when the article was written, he had over 3 billion total views.
This guy, yeah, but he's
and a Guinness Book World Record.
You know what? I'm not a big fan of Dream, but I will admit he is a behemoth of a YouTuber. This guy literally swayed the entire Minecraft community itself. Again, I kind of despise Dream, but again, I do have to give credit where credit's due. He is impactful.
Most viewed Minecraft video gameplay on YouTube. And also generously point out that, I quote, at his height, Dream was bringing in 200 million views per month, outpacing even the 140 million users who play Minecraft every month. If you were on YouTube around 2020, which I'm gonna be pretty sure a lot of you were, you would remember that when Dream initially blew up, you could not get away from that dude. His videos would find you on recommended no matter what niche you were looking up. It was honestly quite admirable, like seeing someone go from almost zero to nothing in the matter of a few months. But this article failed to mention any sort of allegations against Dream. He's been accused of these things for a little over a year now. I'm talking about the grooming allegations, which have severely weighed down his success. So what happened to this otherwise thriving YouTuber? Before I get into this, I gotta say that it seems like Dream has been accused of almost everything in the book. There are hundreds of Twitter threads explaining why Dream is a horrible person. And actually, while this video was being made, Dream uploaded his long-awaited response video to his main channel. So I'll try to summarize the allegations and his response as professionally as I can in this video. But I wouldn't do that without advising you first to make sure you watch his video whenever you get the chance. So when did this all start? Well, it all began on October 13th, 2022, when a burner account on Twitter, @burner39413705, accused him of grooming and Philia. It was accused of grooming a 17-year-old girl using different social media
That's not a good
iMessage.
thing.
Now, the thing is,
that's
these
not a
weren't
good
just
look.
baseless claims that could be ignored. They were backed up by screenshots and screen recordings as well as evidence. And getting straight into the evidence, I'm not going to read everything word for word, by the way. I'll highlight a few curious ones. For instance, in the Twitter DMs, allegedly, Dream asked her, "How old are you? Are you still in school?" Then in a text message, he tells her, "You should turn up come quarantine." To which she replies, "Nah, you probably got the Rona. I'll see you after quarantine." Which begs the question,
Weirdo.
why is Dream talking to a fan like that? Since he was inviting her over, it feels like a conversation that could have been headed elsewhere. More of the messages also prove this point. For example, in a text he says, "Quarantine be bringing the horny out of everyone."
What
by the way,
the hell,
the
man?
girl in question is named Anastasia.
Weirdo.
Based on her claims, the messages took place in 2020 when she was 17 and Dream was 20. One of her tweets read, "None of it is appropriate for a quote fan and influencer to be this close, especially since I was still 17 and in school and he knew that. It crosses the line when he's sending me his huge house / inviting me." Now that is obviously really concerning information, and this was back in 2020 when Dream was still a faceless YouTuber. I bring this up because Anastasia claimed that Dream only revealed his face because he was afraid that she would leak it first. Allegedly, Dream had revealed his face to her before his YouTube face reveal. Anastasia's claims, while being accepted as true by many, were also met with doubt by some who thought the DMs were fake. But these doubts were allegedly debunked, for instance in this Twitter thread by Sierra, who ties together the evidence that Dream's victims, Amanda and Anastasia, posted. Sierra shares a bit more screenshots of other people's interaction with the victim's account, Anastasia's friend for instance. This was to prove that the screenshots were not fake. But screenshots are messy. Anyone can inspect Element, anyone can Photoshop, and even when it comes to screen recordings, I'm pretty sure those could easily be fake too. But those are just my 2 cents. Let's keep going. Now, I said the name Amanda. Who is that? It's allegedly another grooming victim of Dream's. Apparently, she had been messaging with Dream between September 23, 2020 and January 2021. We're talking text messages. She shows the screenshots of their conversations. In January, they apparently moved to Snapchat, and she claims they sexted on there between January 17th and February 10th. During that time, she claims that Dream sent her a picture of his penis.
No! Why, people?
Trust her. The other girl, Anastasia, also claimed that some of the damning
TaxAct doesn't care which tax filing software you've used in the past. TaxAct just wants you to be done.
Weird ass people. I don't get why people do this.
Snapchat. Part of her tweets read, "The worst of flirt that I recall was on Snapchat, and obviously those delete." You can imagine the hate Dream was and still is getting. Anytime Dream would tweet or does tweet, the replies are just calling him a groomer or a file. Dream did respond in a video stream and also on Twitter. On Twitter, on his alternate account, he said that it was all a friendly conversation with Anastasia, and to his knowledge, she was 18. He also said that some of the screenshots were real, but others, like the iMessage ones, were not because his iMessage number is not linked to his TikTok account. These responses are from a while back, but as recently as last month, he's still fighting off all these claims because new twists and additions keep cropping up. You can see in these tweets, for example, his take on it. In the main tweet, he says, "I've been harassed for almost a year due to a false accusation right after my face reveal. This person person publicly said they'd be pressing charges and posting proof, but it could take days, and then went silent for a year and never did either, while I waited and waited. Now, most recently, the Burner22 account popped up on November 20th, claiming again that Dream was messaging a minor inappropriately. This account is allegedly representing a person named Jamie, who they say left the internet in 2020. This is where an apparent moaning audio of Dream was revealed. I have no idea if it's him or not, but do you guys see how complicated the situation is? Well, it looks like the Burner22 account deactivated or just got deleted. I don't know. And like all the Dream fans are celebrating that they deactivated. As I was saying in the video, this is so complicated. This has been one of the most complicated things I'm researching, and it's not even a full video.
There's so many tops to these
like
things.
I suggested before, make sure to watch Dream's video if you want all the information, and check out the threads on your own. Though I will let you guys know, some threads have been deleted, so make with that what you will. And this isn't the full story at all. There's a lot more to this. So his response video. Again, make sure to go watch that full thing yourself and form your own opinion. He breaks down the 3 main grooming allegations and some other stuff. Honestly, it's a pretty professionally laid out video, but it still leaves me confused. I personally don't like the editing, but I mean, he got his points across, you know? Just knowing about the Dream allegations since they started popping up, I literally hate to have been his friend while they were popping up. Though I don't know what to believe, I will ask the question, how do you have so many allegations on your name? What were you even doing? We've seen creators blow up just as fast, and they don't have any allegations of this degree on their name. As sad as it seems like there's just more cons than pros when it comes to messaging fans. And by no means am I saying these claims were false. I'm just saying this all could have been avoided if he just wasn't texting fans. And yes, I know it was when he was a smaller channel, and that's what makes the sentiment all that much harsher. This dude really was on top of the world at one point. He was even making content with Mr. Beast. Imagine the embarrassment of not only hundreds of millions of people hearing these accusations, but also your YouTuber friends as well. That's why they all get awkward when Dream is brought up, and I don't blame them.
Hi Topo, you have 3.5 million followers in Twitter. Do you think you could approach the Dream allegations topic at some point?
Okay, I'm gonna talk about this because this is serious now, and I've seen it a lot in the chat.
But I'm not Dream's friend, and if anyone cares what I have to say, I think he's extremely irresponsible for the way he's handled these allegations up until this point.
I've never really seen him as pretty. Even before he had the allegations rubbed against him, he just seems like a show-off.
Summarize it for you guys. I really do urge you guys to check out the threads for yourself, along with his video. They will be linked down in the description below. Anyway, let's head on to the next one. Boogie2988, one of the most
this guy, he's like,
has to be that of Steven.
This guy was one of the most famous YouTubers. I mean, I'm not like an old classic YouTuber person. Like, I'd say I'm a pretty decently old YouTube person. Like, maybe like 2014, but I'm not like 2007 or whatever. That old. Although me and YouTube do share the same birthday, or the same date of creation. Me referring to my birthday as the day of creation is so weird. Oh, wow, that... Oh, there's Clay! Speaking of Dream allegations, the guy's name is Clay, and there's Clay right up here. I'm gonna forget about it, most likely. This guy is a really big YouTuber.
Boogie2988. I mean, this dude literally went from having millions of views per video to barely cracking the 10,000 view threshold. And the way he did that is a pretty messed up story of one terrible decision after another. So first things first, who is Boogie? Well, a very short summary is that he used to be one of the most popular YouTubers in the gaming scene with a really massive audience. We're talking about 4 million subscribers. His videos were essentially centered on his life and gaming stuff. He'd constantly give life updates, showcase his gameplay, and rant about stuff while playing a character named Francis. And he was very charming while doing all of this. So charming that it was easy for people to love him with heartwarming comments like, "You're awesome, Boogie. Thanks for being a part of YouTube, and have a Merry Christmas." And nothing has made me laugh this much in a while. Haha. Keep it up, man. So how exactly did this one beloved creator...
How did this guy fall off?
That right there is a question that can be answered by a beautiful documentary by Mike and Klum. Now, I'm obviously not going to go over everything that has been said about him, but I just want to show you guys how messy this dude's life has been, particularly in how he managed, or more like mismanaged, his money to the point that he's on the verge of homelessness. So let's wind back a little bit. Boogie started his channel back.
When you signed up for pet insurance, you didn't sign up for...
Thank you for waiting.
back in 2006. He made lots of videos, and somewhere around 2019, he was truly at the peak of his income game. Again, all along, at least for the first few years, he had been a charming, transparent, and entertaining creator. He made likable videos, for example this one, where he's talking about growing up poor and how this turned him frugal, and this one where he's discussing his YouTube income. FYI, in that video, published in 2016, he disclosed that he was making about $100,000 per year. Pretty good money, right? He also
That's fat money.
In the 2015/2016
More money than I'll ever see for a while.
Gastric bypass surgery to solve his weight issues. Now, unfortunately, this is around the time when the tide began turning. First, he got divorced and became an emotional wreck. In fact, if you googled when Boogie's downfall began, you would probably find people agreeing that it was right after his divorce. His income did not dip immediately, though. The dip happened about 2 years later. In 2018, he made $498,000. In 2019, he made $152,000. In 2020, he made $72,300. In 2021, he made $46,250. And in 2022, he made $26,000.
Dude.
Now, interestingly, between 2018 and 2019, a user on Reddit that goes by Night Like Day apparently posted this now deleted thread. They detail all the awful things that Boogie has said for as long as he has been online, like a mega thread of all of Boogie shit talk. And not just shit talk, it was a thread of his unhinged jokes and racist comments, including multiple uses of the N-word. And people began sharing it with brands, which in turn made him lose sponsors, and hence the dip. Anyway, by 2022, the guy was making $26,000 a year, with a monthly overhead of $7,000. His ex-wife had been the one budgeting for him and doing all the money stuff. So all this is happening while bills are piling up. He has no money and doesn't know how to budget. This is how he ended up with car payments, mortgage, health expenses, etc., and no cash for any of it. Oh, and while at it, he buys random things he doesn't need. In the documentary, for instance, he says he heard his TV producing a crackling sound and immediately went to Amazon and bought a $100 sound bar, only to find out the next day that his TV was just fine. Anyway, given his really bad math, he has been forced to pawn off stuff just so he can pay his mortgage and cater to basic expenses. And again, just to emphasize how bad Boogie is at finances, he recently participated in a boxing match to try to raise some cash. He got paid $10,000 but had already spent more than $10,000 in the match preparedness process. Now, given that this dude has been on YouTube for 17 years, you might be curious as to where all of his saved up money went, right? Well, first there's what went with his wife. Then, out of an estimated $750,000 he had, he put $600,000 of it into some random crypto and lost.
Oh my god.
At some other point, he spent around $200,000
crypto.
That was about $40,000 a year on prostitutes. Beyond that,
dude, hookers really?
Why doesn't he just make the money back on YouTube? Well, for
damn, that's a big garbage pile. Look at that trash.
That he just can't come back. In fact, most people now regard him as the most manipulative creator with really depressing content. There's actually a whole video arguing why even the documentary is all a lie, aka his way of manipulating people. He's always seen bad. Which is far from his original charming self. In the documentary, a psychologist actually diagnoses him with covert narcissism, with its manifestation being pessimism, hypersensitivity to criticism, reactive anger, need for admiration, self-centeredness, entitlement, and believing he's special. Anyway, as I wrap this story up, in all honesty, his entire story is pretty depressing. One part that is just really gross is that he's been dating a 20-year-old. Keep in mind that this man is nearly 50. He is 49. That's just,
age gap?
It seems like Boogie's life and career has reached rock bottom. Quebblecop. This next YouTuber,
Oh boy.
Quebblecop, thought he was
Okay.
something when he
I've gotta say it. Okay. I got mine. There's this gang: Quebblepop, Jelly, and some other dude. There's like this trio who would always give me the mic like this, and then they would always make gaming videos. Okay, their gaming videos were pretty entertaining until like 2016, whatever. They literally just scream in their mic. It was so. Oh, Slogo Man, Jelly, Quebblepop. Those are like the trio. Those were like the three dudes that would like do this gaming. This one kid is like, dude, you're the worst YouTuber ever. Jelly's burying him like, yeah. I'm like, it's because he screams in his mic like this is obnoxious. Like, dude, he actually had the balls to say that Jelly is better than me. I am not offended. I'm not even offended. Actually, if I even am offended about that, I'm not even offended that, you know, he's saying he's better than me. I'm being offended to be compared against a dumpster, a trash can, a piece of trash.
to endlessly spew AI-generated garbage all over his audience. Instead, he is now paying for this rather dumb mistake. When I came across Quebblecop's story, I couldn't help but side with all the other content creators who believe he's become a mockery of the entire essence of content creation. And to be clear, what I mean by this is real hard work, real experiences, and genuinely connecting with audiences, which basically means having a personality, right? So what's the deal with Quebblecop? I've already hinted that he's been spewing endless AI-generated videos hoping that he found an infinite money glitch, and his downward spiral based on that content has been so sad to watch. So let's dive into it. Officially known as Jordy Maxime Van Den Bush, but let's just call him Quebblecop.
You cannot depend on Stephanie's perfect parking spot to stay perfect. But you...
This guy fell off hard.
He's not a new YouTuber. He's been at it for a good minute.
Yeah, he's had a long
This
time.
English-speaking Dutch creator has so far made about 5,000 videos, gained over 15 million subscribers, and gotten just a little over 7 billion views. Absolutely astronomical numbers by any measure. He officially started posting in 2011, and during this period, at least for the most part, he focused on gameplay. He uploaded one video every day at the same time. That's actually how he became big. He was consistent and put out good content. He became notable and even at
You play a lot of GTA.
YouTubers named Robust. He worked under the PewDiePie network called Rebel Mode. Now, this dude had some serious grit back in the day. He worked with and dated the lovely Azzyland, a really popular Canadian content creator.
Azzyland, I've heard about her before.
YouTuber,
She's big.
Tiger, now Liger, got a share of their channel's ownership and later just took over altogether.
Liger.
Not for good reasons though, for AI reasons. All this time, specifically from 2015 to 2020.
Yeah, isn't Liger controversial in himself?
He was posting every single day. Then sadly, there came a decline of viewers and subscribers. Of course, there are different theories as to why this happened, but I think YouTuber Serial Introvert's theory is more believable. Basically, during this time, it's possible that Quebblecop might have just gotten distracted by his game development company, JVDB, and also his other channel, Blue. Blue was actually a virtual YouTuber entirely generated using AI. He might have been distracted enough to make less exciting content on the main channel. Post-2020, as if to pivot and recover, he then tried doing lots of reaction content, but that didn't work well. So he then made a big announcement about making content that centered on his life that he was more excited about. But despite the announcement, he still kept up with the reaction videos. Somehow his viewership dipped. I think he just stopped being as exciting to his audience. Then the big shift came when, following a short break, he came back with an idea which I honestly believe he thought he was a genius for. He decided to clone himself. Actually, according to this tweet, he had made the decision earlier and had been working on it since 2018. With his clone in place, he went ahead and posted his first AI-generated video, and it went completely downhill from there.
Today, in Minecraft, I am stuck on one block. Can we survive? Watch it to the end to find out. Oh my god, guys, it says break the block below you, but I can't lie, I'm kind of scared because I'm not sure if we'll actually regenerate, but let's just do it. And, oh my god, the block will regenerate. This is insane. Okay, guys, so we just have to keep on...
The fact that the AI actually sounds almost just like him. Like, I've watched a few of his videos back then. That sounds like him.
Fond childhood memories quickly turned into an absolute mess. It was taken over by an underwhelming avatar making robotic commentary on Minecraft gameplay. His fans, well, the few that had stuck around, were having none of it. The video got comments like, dude went from peak childhood entertainment to can't even be bothered to make the videos himself now. I miss the old Quebblecop. Remember when Jordy was actually in front of the camera and not just AI? And it wasn't just his fans. Other content creators were also in disbelief at his new lazy style. He even made it on the news. And then, in the classic style of jumping from the frying pan into the fire, he doubled down on his idea. He, for example, used used his AI self to react to fellow YouTubers as they reacted to his AI shift. Then, making it even worse, he made an announcement that he had heard his audience and was making a switch, only for that announcement to turn out as being an AI-generated clip announcing a more skilled AI, Bubblecomp AI.
11 years ago, I started my YouTube journey. My one and only goal was to entertain as many people as possible, to share my joy with the world, and to form new friendships. I had a lot of fun.
As much as I don't like the idea, I will admit the AI clip is pretty good. Like, it's pretty good AI. Oh, and while all this was going down on YouTube, he was making those weird AI clips for TikTok and posting all his, like, AI wife and child on Twitter. Pretty weird stuff. And you probably realize he's a weird dunking mistake. Just recently,
Dude, I'm lonely. I'm gonna admit it. I'm lonely, but I cannot ever see myself sinking that mode. That is just ugh.
Minilad. Now, this next creator, Minilad, is currently feeling the pinching consequences of trying to sweep things under the rug, but failing terribly at it. And you don't even have to dig a lot to see that. In his latest videos, the comments tell it all. For instance, in a new video titled I Got Robbed, there are gut-wrenching comments, maybe deservedly so, like, imagine being a robber, but somehow you're not the worst person in the house. There's worse things than robbing. You of all people should know that, Craig. Damn, you should have robbed your hard drive to see what's on it. Lol. Now, if this was the first time you were coming across Craig Minilad Thompson, you could immediately wonder why he's getting so much heat. Well, the last comment that I highlighted is a great segue into that. And the person saying the robber should have robbed Craig's hard
I love the
drive
rare chance you can get to actually find the platform B in full effect. Or
now this happened back in
not these
2020,
things.
and while it's not solely responsible for his downfall, it's definitely a huge part of it. In June of 2020, a tweet from a girl named Hallie went viral with claims that Craig had manipulated her when she was just 16/17, while he was over 20 years old.
Oh,
So,
cool.
what did it
Bad
happen?
person.
Well, it starts with Craig being friends with Hallie for quite some time. Hallie was even there for him during his depressive episode following a breakup, and Craig helped her here and there with random things. Fast forward, Hallie, 16 at the time, develops a massive crush on Craig, and they are constantly chatting and making jokes, including a joke about his junk being small. It turns out, just a little
weird.
later, they moved the conversation to Discord, and Craig sends her unsolicited photos of himself in underwear to prove that his thing
Why, people?
his crime. Apparently he did it to someone else. Hallie in her tweet says that Craig acted the same way, or worse, to another girl named Ash. Also, apparently Craig was using depression and suicide as a way to manipulate Hallie to not
That
help
is
him.
wrong
He
on
uses
so
it as
many
an excuse
levels.
for interacting inappropriately with Ash, knowing well that
Manipulation is just.
now Hallie goes on to share a couple other screenshots as evidence of his gross behavior. And all I can say is that he was pretty much caught pants down. No pun intended. There was really no evidence to deny any of it. Side note, I'm not going to go into any of his other choices, like, for example, the whole Thanos gaming beef that he had. Moving on, having been outed publicly, Craig went on to issue an apology and promised to work on
We
himself.
have two
He also did a video
broken
apology
research
for his
scanners.
mistakes, and again, putting part of the blame on his depression and suicidal tendencies. Then, in a rather weird twist, Minilad deleted his apologies. He also deleted his entire Twitter and made the YouTube video private. And he went away for a, quote, mental health break, and then came back posting on his second channel, Craig Thompson, as if nothing happened. And a lot of people just took that as like sweeping it under the rug. My
Coward.
question for these creators is why even come back? Why come back to YouTube? Like, you know, I named this video YouTubers ruin their lives, and I do mean that. I do mean you ruin a portion of your life if you are exposed as a pedophile. Yeah, so I don't know how you'd expect to just come back to the internet with open arms. You know, I did ask one of my YouTuber friends that's been in the game for a long time, and I asked him, do you know any YouTubers who got canceled, and like what do they do when they leave the internet? And he's like, oh, they work behind the scenes on stuff, like running businesses behind the scenes or running stuff to do with other creators behind the scenes. So in case you guys were wondering how some of them maintain themselves off the internet, that's how. So it's just interesting that like, they have choices. They can just go do something behind the scenes because obviously they don't want to go work a 9 to 5. Their ego wouldn't let them, and their paranoia wouldn't let them. If someone sees like, hey, Minilad like bagging my groceries, and they start recording it, it's like anything but the internet. I feel like at that point you get exposed for something, okay, do anything but the internet. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Let's head on to the next one. Brooke Houtz. 4 years ago, in 2019, this next YouTuber got so much backlash over animal abuse that her career never really recovered.
Didn't she like feed her cat alcohol?
Houtz, who, as seen in this video, uploaded footage of her hitting her dog, a Doberman breed. Yes, she
How dare.
accidentally uploaded the video. She forgot to cut that part out while editing. In the footage, you can see the dog innocently walking to her and trying to lick her, and Brooke, in a swift response, immediately smacks the dog and then goes on to shout at and push him. Now, this
Aw,
of
poor
course triggered a lot
baby.
of anger. It went viral, and Brooke realized this. So what did she do? Well, she deleted the video and re-uploaded the new version without that apart. Obviously, the re-uploads exist, and as more people saw the video, the anger was so far-reaching that even PETA was calling for her removal from YouTube. Also, the LAPD got involved, although
that's the only good thing PETA's probably ever done in its lifespan.
Looked into the matter. Obviously, they saw the video the public had seen. They determined it didn't rise to the level of animal cruelty. Brooke, who had about 320,000 subscribers,
You kicked an animal! That's cruelty, idiots!
Video and on Twitter. And the
That's
apologist
terrible.
basically argued that she had been training the dog and admitted that her error was just not having done it right. She said, "I'm always looking at ways to improve how I personally train him at home."
The world has changed. Your thinning hair can now be helped with no drugs, no side effects,
Drugs.
or certain
Drugs.
The apology was not what was either from some terming as.
We had like 202. Yeah, like 30 scraps in that. Not bad.
Going more religious and promising to seek therapy, but the damage had already been done. It looks like her career and social life ended just like that. EDP 445. We've talked about people who've done stupid stuff and ended their careers, but EDP is a different story. A popular figure across the internet, EDP.
Yeah, this guy.
A figure who began his channel back in 2010.
Actually, I'm gonna go call Kyle. You're back. Peace out, stream.